Forgot my light. See who gets notifications this time. I'm hearing that notifications did not go out for the last video. And it's just as well because, I'm learning. My mornings are usually reserved for reflection, not doing live YouTube. So let's see who joins me for part 2 of the forces of vibration. I'm much better now. I've had coffee. I've had my workout. I feel good. I had a shower. I feel much more alert to be doing a live. So my vibe is much higher now than it was when I first came on this morning. We'll see who joins us. Hopefully notifications are coming. And we'll see. We'll wait 5 minutes and then we'll go into part 2. Hey, Eric, you're back again. Eric, I'm much happier now. I have had my workout. I did a cold plunge. I sat in the sun. I've relaxed. I'm much more in alignment with my speaking to others' voice. Usually in the morning, I like to just be to myself. So I tried something different today. So we'll see. Hopefully the notifications go out. I got some messages. Let's see if Norman and some of the other folks show up. I still have my coffee, which I have not finished. Eric, are you doing something lovely today? Are you eating some good food? Sailor's Life, hello. Good to see you here. Thank you. When you send that, that's what I think. I think, oh, hello, sunshine. This is going to be a part 2 on what I talked about, so I'll get to your question on that Sailor's Life. Sailor's Life asked about how many dimensions there were. So if you missed the first video, watch it after this one. We'll see. We're going to cover, the laws, the natural laws, they do work together. They're not operating independently, and neither are we. Hello. Good to see you here. We're just waiting the 5 minutes before I start talking about the law of vibration or the forces of vibration. And I ended off with the forces of vibration, the lower and higher forces of vibration. And then there's, of course, something that came up in yesterday's live that I want to talk about today. It was from Michelle, and Michelle asked about, she said something about being unhappy. So I wanna talk about that in today with the forces of vibration, which of course is the law of vibration. So if you're new here, my name is Kiana Sage. I guide people to peace through this thing called energy psychology. This is the alignment of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual alignment. And I do that by helping people shift out of patterns that are not favorable. Hey, Zeal, good to see you here again. You're becoming a local. I love it. This is such a cool little group that we've got here. This page is not marketed, although I get hit with YouTube people trying to maximize my algorithms for likes. And, likes are nice, but I would rather have people who resonate with this work and becoming in alignment than to, just be on here and not really participate. That's my preference. Somebody's asking, what does that mean, spiritual? We have a physical body, a mental body, emotional body, and spiritual. Spiritual is your access into higher levels of consciousness. Not to be confused with religion, folks. Not to be confused. They are different. Spiritual is different than religion. Somebody's asking me to give them peace. Peace is found within. I can certainly provide guidance, but you all are your own healer, which is why I'm doing this Being and Seeing 366 video series, is because when I was going through my spiritual awakening, as many people will go, and it will not be very easy. It's not an easy path. However, it is part of our evolution. It's part of our human evolution to raise up in consciousness. So today we're talking about the forces of vibration. I did a part 1 earlier today, and I'm doing this part 2, and I'll probably do a part 3 at about 2 o'clock today, if it's not too late. We'll see. I found that 3 o'clock is too late. Sean, you're new here. No need to be lost. Being lost is actually a good sign that you're in a place where you can learn something new. A lot of people avoid being lost, but lost is an indication that we are opening up to new information. So if you're here, everything that I'm talking about is in alignment with the natural laws. I try to give practices that help people align within. This is to your heart, and your heart is a portal for connection into higher levels of being, higher states of being. So earlier today, I talked about the law of vibration, and I went through it, and I said it's very layered. And today, this part 2, I really want to focus on, the forces of gratitude, love, and kindness, which is going to be a higher frequency. It is not necessarily good or bad. It feels different than the lower forces, which will be fear, anger, frustration. Those all are strong forces. How you leverage the force is your conscious choice. Now, something that came up in yesterday's live that I wanted to talk about is this thing called being unhappy. And one of the people in the chat talked about, well, if I'm unhappy, that's an indication of this. And it's not necessarily an indication of anything other than a lack of consciously choosing. When we are in connection with the law of vibration, we also must understand that there is a conscious choice that we get to make in every moment that we are aware. So let's just say you are aware that you're having these feelings of anger, these feelings of fear, these feelings of frustration. Those are not necessarily caused by somebody else, okay? Your feelings, your vibration is yours, right? It's yours to adjust and change as you choose. The lack of choosing is where most people are getting mired in the lower realms. The lower realms would be a lower density, also known as a slower pace. So the force of vibration is going to be felt. So if you are feeling deeply within yourself that you are mired, let's just say you're just really connected to anger. Well, anger or fear, let's just talk about fear. Fear is something that is inviting you inward. And I know a lot of people get afraid, but they do not want to look at what their fears are. And therefore, your fears will drive your emotional, body, physical, mental, and spiritual access points. So you want to really understand your fears and understand that fear is a force of operation. Now, it's usually being used against humans because many humans do not understand that fear has been a tool to manipulate folks, okay? But you're here, you're learning, you're wanting to learn more about the natural laws. So you want to tap into that force of strength, and that is going to come from within. That is your conscious choice. Now, for me, one of the things that I value is learning. So use your experience as a pivot point into deeper levels of learning, not so much intellectually, but from the heart. So what I have found with people that feel stuck in a particular vibration is they're intellectualizing gratitude, and they're intellectualizing love. They're intellectualizing goodness instead of feeling it. The feeling of gratitude is yours to choose. My suggestion is that be in your heart. You know, one of the things as an empath, and I am an empath, a telepath, and, you know, I got some other gifts, but you have them too. So one of the things that I feel is when, hey, Greg, good to see you here. One of the things that I've noticed since I was a little girl is that the holidays were often not what they appeared. So people would come for Thanksgiving, but they weren't really in gratitude. And my favorite time of Thanksgiving was really the time that I got to be in connection with my mother, because my mother really loved the holidays and she loved cooking. And I loved doing those things with her. Zeal, the chat is the chat. There's a lot of bots. Just really focus on either content or those chats that you think are real people, because not all things are appearing as they are, which is exactly what I'm talking about today. The law of vibration. Don't allow yourself to be distracted. So for me on the holidays, when people are not in their heart or connected with their heart, hey, nobody, good to see you here. Missed you this morning. I'm glad this time is much better. Okay, so the law of vibration is going to be stronger when you are in connection with your heart. If you are thinking gratitude, if you are, I mean, a lot of people are into this thing called fake it till you make it. What a waste of time. That's all intellectual. Your thoughts are powerful, but if you take your thoughts and connect them with your heart, now you can expand into the gratitude, the love, the joy, happiness. When you are in the lower realms, okay, these are the lower densities, anger, frustration, fear, you're going to notice you're probably not connected to your heart, okay? That's a good signal for you to reconnect with your heart. Now, most people are not doing that. So then what happens to that anger in the mind? It gets expanded. We look for understanding. We want to know why. And those questions from the mind are going to disconnect us and loop us back into the mind. We want to connect to the heart. Now, Sailor's Life asked a great question on the last video that I really want to talk about, because the law of vibration is layered, okay? The forces of vibration are layered, and they're layered through dimensions, and each dimension has layers, each dimension has patterns, and they are not all equal, okay? They are a different vibration. That means that the pace that they are vibrating at is different, and that pace that they vibrate at, if it's a higher vibration, it's difficult to see. If it's a lower vibration, it's also going to change how you see. So the frequency of the vibration is going to determine the pace of the patterns and the rotation, okay? So Sailor's Life asked, how many dimensions are there? And I want to say, I don't know, because I'm just going to say I haven't been to all the different dimensions. So I think this is my full 100% guess on this, is that the vibration and the dimensions are going to be determined by your access point. And I believe that there is something called infinite. So I believe that there is potentially infinite dimensions. I don't know this for sure because I can't say that, but I will say this, that we often limit ourselves. And how do I know this? Because I did it too. So when I was starting on my ascension journey, and if you are not all familiar with this thing called ascension. Ascension is the growth of your spiritual aspects. This is the cycle and the realm on which we ascend in consciousness. This means we rise up. Now, I was very familiar with 3D, which is the third dimension. This is what we live on here on Earth when we are totally locked into the physical realms. The physical realm is not everything, okay? We have multi-dimensions. But when I was first starting, I just really wanted to align to the 5D, which is love, light, goodness. It's a higher vibration than 3D, okay? But I was limiting myself because when you expand in consciousness, you are not limited by what you consciously are aware of. You can move beyond. And so how many dimensions are there? It depends on your access. It depends. And now there are a lot of people out there in the spiritual community that'll say, well, I'm at 5D or I'm at 25D. And they talk in hierarchies. There's not a hierarchy in dimensions. There's only a frequency and a distinction in that frequency. That means the rate of spin, the rate of vibration. They do feel different. They feel distinctly different. And the higher you go, it feels better. You get different levels of access of information. So what I would suggest is that the forces of vibration are determined by your willingness to expand into those greater forces of love, gratitude, and goodness, and really begin to amplify them. You amplify that through your heart, okay? That's how we amplify the forces, is through the heart. Now, obviously, if people are really disconnected, they're going to have more of the fear. So the choice is yours. When you notice that you're in fear, you have a choice. Because you've noticed, you choose. And as you consciously choose, you can align to greater forces. Now, is it hard to align with goodness, love, and gratitude when you feel you're not experiencing that? Well, can you experience love from your heart? Yes. Or is your environment necessarily going to reflect that? Yeah. Your perception of your experience will change when you're in alignment to your heart. When you're in your mind and you are looking at your experience of, this sucks, I don't like this, I don't want this, that's resistance. That's resistance is going to lock you in lower. So let me see. So the intensity is going to be determined by that vibration rate. And also your willingness to learn. So the more you learn to connect with your heart, the more you practice to connect to the stronger forces that align with the direction you want to go, and that's your conscious choice. So going back to the chat yesterday when somebody said they were unhappy, the moment you know that you're unhappy, that's your conscious choice to shift that. Now, you don't shift it from the mind only. You want to shift it energetically by going into the heart and really trying to stay tethered to your heart frequency. That doesn't mean you don't feel, that doesn't mean you won't feel sad or alone, but you can be alone and not be lonely. And so lonely people, I have a lot of people that say, oh, Kiana, I'm so alone. Well, I'm going to tell you the spiritual journey is yours alone. You don't get to do it with other people. If you're lucky, you will meet people on the path of their own discovery and their own learning. And so you can talk to them. But a lot of times when you're on this journey, there is that dark night of the soul where you are learning and learning and learning. And if you're lucky, you're learning and elevating. If you're unlucky, meaning you're not consciously choosing, you're going to repeat patterns over and over again. And I don't think that's really luck. That's just a lack of conscious choice. So when we're talking about the forces of the vibration, we want to really consciously choose repeatedly. Now, I will say from my own personal perspective, the hardest part about the spiritual journey is that when you are evolving, you will make choices that are not common, meaning you're not going to go along with the masses. You're not going to feel the same as other people say they feel. And I would highly recommend that you not get stuck in what people are saying and start feeling if people are resonating. And, you know, I sent a message to somebody today that I was thankful for the lessons of friendship because the lessons of their friendship showed me and my husband exactly who they were. And I am so grateful that they showed themselves in a way that was more aligned with who I saw them as and not what they said. Does that make sense? That doesn't make them bad people. I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for seeing people being in their truth. And then you can choose, do you want to continue on this path with them or not? And I'm just grateful when people are in alignment. And that is not always easy to see people saying they're thankful and not feeling it. And so here's one more thing in this whole thing about the light journey. When people are ascending in consciousness, they use language like love and light to you, and there's no love and no light in the message that they're sending you, okay? So that no love and no light, I can see that. I feel that. That's what we feel when we're an empath. We'll feel there's some kind of incongruence going on here. And sometimes that will feel uncomfortable. Our job is to not judge it. It's to be neutral to it and just see. We must be willing to see because that's when we have more conscious choice. That is the law of vibration, is that once we feel it, once we notice it, we get to choose. Oftentimes people are not choosing and therefore they spiral out in fear. So I hope this answered the question about dimensions and quality. No judgment, just neutrality. Okay, y'all, that's the focus. Let me see. Anything? Okay, one more thing about the law of vibration, then I'll go on to see what you guys have in the chat, which is there is vibration in matter, energy, mind, and spirit. Okay? Those are always going to be running patterns. Now, as many of you know, and those of you who've chosen to reach out and have a session with me have experienced, is that patterns, they have different frequencies and vibrations. When you start to resonate at a different level, your entire life will change. Change is not always something that people embrace. They may want it, but they don't always embrace it. So preference and actual resonance are oftentimes disconnected. And that's what I see repeatedly with people. So learn to be an observer of your experience and then learn to consciously choose. But I would also say learn. Make learning and growing part of your value system because you can adjust easier and faster than others. People who are going along with the masses, when things start to unravel, they unravel. It's not easy to witness, so you want to be a compassionate witnesser of others. And on this Thanksgiving Day, I just want to say I am eternally grateful for this platform of bringing together people who are consciously choosing to learn. because it's something I value deeply. And I understand that when we're learning something different like energy psychology and patterns and awareness, that we change. And sometimes as we change, it can be quite challenging. And the challenge is always going to be, are we connected to our heart, or are we thinking in our mind? The more we can connect to our heart, the more receptive we are, and we can shift beyond our comprehension. And with that, I say thank you and happy Thanksgiving for those of you who are celebrating, and those of you in another country and you don't even have Thanksgiving. This is just a day where Kiana is not working or taking sessions. I'm just on here sharing with you because I want to, and I can. And you're here. So let's see what you have to say. I'm going to go to the chats here, see what you have to say about part 2 of the forces of vibration. And I want to say how fortunate I am to see Eric on here twice today. So thank you, Eric, for joining me live. Earlier today, there was less of us here, which is okay. It was a shorter video, which is okay too. Sailor's Life is here. Minnie, hello. Good. Eric's having a good Thanksgiving. Good for you, Eric. May your heart expand with gratitude and love, and may you feel appreciated for your authentic ways of being. Okay, let's see what questions. How do you access higher points of consciousness? Big is asking this. How do you access? Well, you access from within. So the inside reflects the outside. When I say within, we have many aspects of ourselves, but you begin with a deep connection through your heart, and connecting to your heart, source energy, God, creation, creator energies, the God forces, if you will. I really want to say that a lot of people have been conditioned away from terms like Christ consciousness, unity consciousness, and they feel like a resistance to using terms. And that's because of programming and conditioning. Now, the actual energy of Christ consciousness, there's nothing to resist about it. It just feels good. But because we get so stuck in our mind and judgment and thoughts and thinking about what something is or means, we lose our connection within our heart. Hey, Shane. Shane is asking, who are you? My name is Kiana. I guide people to peace through a process called energy psychology. And I'm just here talking and sharing about the forces of vibration, otherwise known as the law of vibration. Oh, thank you, F1. Zeal, yes, I think I'm doing 3 separate lives today. I might come back on at 2:30 to do a part 3 on this vibration. And maybe I'll be a different topic. We'll see. Shiri is asking, do I have a major in any discipline? That's an interesting question. Well, to me, when you ask that question, you're asking my qualifications through education. And then there's formal education, and then there's experience. So I have both. I have a master's degree in organizational leadership and conflict management. And then, hey, Mike, good to see you here. And then I also have life experience that has been different than most talk about. So, you know, my discipline is really about talking about the natural laws. At this time, that is what I'm most passionate about. That is what will help people evolve quicker and faster. And ultimately, my discipline in energy psychology is disentanglement from patterns of lower vibrations that block us from accessing higher levels of consciousness. Hopefully that helps. Mike, good to see you. I am good. I'm better now. I had my coffee, which I'm finishing. I've had a workout. I did a cold plunge. I'm feeling really good, and I'm looking forward to the most delicious salad. I love it. Draco, Poland, good to see you back here, Draco. Thank you, Greg. Good to see you here. Nobody, hello, good to see you. You're somebody to me. I love seeing you in the chat. Oh, Draco, I see you guys know, you and Greg are from the same area. Hydra says, one suggestion that you would give from your life, something that you would want to give your younger brother as a life lesson. I think this is a question. What's one suggestion I would say from my life? What's one suggestion I would say? What's one suggestion? Let me think. Let me give you something that's meaningful that I would want to give to my younger brother or just a younger person watching. I would say learn to develop a deep, direct connection to God through your heart. That would be my suggestion. And I will tell you that when my nieces and nephews were little young kids, I used to play this game called the Mummy Game. And the Mummy Game was who can be in silence the longest. And these kids, they loved this game. And because silence takes on different frequencies and vibrations. And when you can stay in it for longer periods of time, you actually reach higher frequencies of vibration. That's my experience. And Hydra, I would say these young kids, they loved this game. Now, do most kids play this game? No. Why? Because they are easily distracted and they are used to their parents telling them that to be quiet. And what kid doesn't resist being told to be quiet? But when you teach them that the Mummy Game and that they can be in silence within themselves longer periods, they really enjoy that time. And let me tell you, the entire family enjoys it when they play that game together. And I called it the Mummy Game. Was it popular with the kids? Yes. Was it popular with the adults? Not necessarily, because a lot of adults have a difficult time being still. And stillness is a blessing for those who can access it, but it's difficult for people who are not conditioned to go within to access stillness. It's there for us all, but we have been conditioned out of it. So for other people, for little kids, they go there quick and they love it. They will giggle and laugh, but they will be quiet. They will be still. They will lay there in the mummy state and they will notice their body and sensations and they will just love it. So that was a game that I used to play with my nieces and nephews when they were little. I highly doubt they are doing that now. How can I forgive someone? Raman, that's a really good question. Forgiveness is obviously a gift that you give to yourself. So I would ask you, Raman, why wouldn't you give that gift to yourself? What do you need for you to access forgiveness? Now, there is something called a Ho'oponopono. That is a Hawaiian mantra of forgiveness. And it's like, it's also connecting with God or creation within your heart, where you can release the tentacles of relationships from your heart. Because when we feel deep pain, there's often cords and tentacles and different variations of energy that you might not be able to understand, but when it's released, you feel it. So this is the thing about energy, is that a lot of people don't realize how heavy energy is until it's released. And, I help people release it so they can experience themselves more holistically. There, I know a lot of you love that painting, so I'm trying to position it. Okay, let's see. Does that answer the question about forgiveness? Let me see. So there's Ho'oponopono, which has a series of statements that you could say, and my suggestion is try that. You could look it up online. But forgiveness really happens when you get present with your heart and you say, it's time, and I'm consciously choosing to let go of this. Now, the mind often interferes with us letting go. Okay, so that's why it's important to learn, because when we're consciously learning, we can let go easier. And when we're consciously learning, we can access higher levels of consciousness. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't developed a hack on how to learn consciously without consciously learning, meaning you need to do your work. The heavy lifting is becoming aware. Why are you not forgiving? Why are you holding on to anger, fear, and unforgiveness? Those are lower frequencies. Now that you know that you are not forgiving and you know that forgiveness is an inside game, the question then becomes, what do I need to do to forgive myself for what I have held? I think that's the question you need to ask yourself, Raymond. Zeal. So is this I'm having fun. I love your questions because they really challenge me to distill these concepts into very practical applications. The bottom line is nobody can forgive for you. That's why it's a gift you give to yourself. So who do you forgive? You want to forgive everybody. Your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your friends. Anything that's caused you pain, you want to forgive, because pain is simply a signal of something that needs your conscious attention. Okay, Zeal is saying, a person should know how to control their anger. Okay, Zeal, you and we're going to have a push-pull here, and that's okay, because I think control is an illusion, okay? An intelligent person controls is what you're saying, and I would say an intelligent person has no attachment, none. And I would say when I was describing my my relationship with my mother, I would say for a vast majority of my life until I got into my 20s, I had what I would call an attachment to my mother. She was my friend, my confidant, my mother. She gave me love. She gave me support. She gave me things that I didn't get. She also gave me irritation and frustration. You know, my mother was at it all. And then I decided that there was this thing called non-attachment that I wanted to go into more. And that meant that I had to change my unhealthy attachments. And I had to go into non-attachment, which means that your relationship changes. You can't have a codependent relationship when you're in non-attachment. And codependency is not healthy. I don't care what anybody says. You think it's healthy to have attachment to your partner. It's not. You want to go into non-attachment. That's where real love is. That's where peace is. That's where expansion occurs. Now, I know a lot of people might disagree. And that's okay. Draco is saying, I control my anger in most situations. I think it's important to leverage our anger. So anger is an emotion, okay? When we have awareness that we're having anger, my suggestion is to redirect that force, because it is a very strong force and it is not bad. It is a force. So when we understand that vibrations are not good or bad, they are forces, now we can begin to leverage them. Anger is one of those things. I can go from 0 to 100 and go right back down to 0. How? Because I consciously can redirect. It's easier to redirect when you have awareness. Now you got to become aware of what is causing you those turmoils of anger. And then the moment that anger happens, the frustration happens, you redirect your energy towards the direction you want to go, which is love, gratitude, a goal. You can have goals, your values, and that will shift it, and that force will become stronger. Zeal is saying, I used to watch 3D movies with my 3D glasses in my childhood. Okay, Zeal. I never really like watching movies that much. I watch shows, but I never really liked movies. All movies. Like things that were really popular, they were not always my favorite. Draco's saying, how can I understand my frequency? Your frequency is going to, how can you understand your frequency? Well, there is something out there where they put scales of frequency aligned with hertz. But I would say that the best indication of your frequency is, number one, your experience. Your experience in the moment, your experience of your perception, what is showing up in your frequency. I think that's the best thing. So if you have, for example, and I've used this example before, when you have like a bunch of narcissists in your life, that's showing you what you're resonating with. You're resonating with a frequency of narcissists. Let's just say you have a slew of narcissists in your life. Some of them are easier to spot than others. That will tell you where your vulnerabilities are. As you address all the vulnerabilities in your field to the best of your ability, you become more conscious and aware, and you make different choices. But the best thing is to understand your frequency is, how often are you feeling the frequency of gratitude? Meaning gratitude for everything. Meaning gratitude for something other people might think is a bad situation, but you're able to be grateful for it. Like I'm grateful for people to show me who they are. And sometimes it will not be something that I prefer. That's okay. I'm willing to align my preference and my resonance. And sometimes you see you're out of alignment by what's showing up in your life. I have a really good example of that with money in my decision making in your knowing. And that's on here too. You could go see that one. That's a video I have here. Thank you, Ray. Raymond is saying, I don't believe this is a live session. Okay. This is what you get to believe. You get to choose what you believe. That's conscious choice. Raymond, I don't think I need to convince you. I am doing me. I am being authentic. I am here to teach about the natural laws, but you still have conscious choice. So whatever you choose to believe is your choice. Eric is saying it's live. It's live. Thank you. Adam, I don't know what you're saying. It's in another language here, but I did see that you spelled my name. Stop caring about what other people think. Yeah, Shooter, I think investing in what other people think is, I would say that's a lost cause, right? Because other people think, I'm a telepath, so I pick up on other people's thoughts. And what other people think more often than not, they're not even conscious of. There you go, I've said it. So when you're conscious and you are picking up on people not being conscious of their thoughts, meaning you understand that they're resonating in thinking things that are not very favorable, that can be uncomfortable. I remember one of the times I was in a meeting with some executives, and it was me and another executive, and I was consulting, and they were having a conflict, and I was called in as the consultant to witness this erratic conversation with these two executives, and it absurd. It was crazy because one person is seeing, sensing, feeling, and blaming. He was really much in a victimizer type of situation where he was blaming the other executive for his experience. And the whole time, and I coached them both, and I was consulting to them both as a group, but we're not responsible for how other people feel. My husband's not responsible for how I feel. I'm not responsible for how he feels. I'm responsible for feeling my feelings. He's responsible for feeling his feelings. We just try to do our best, and we do practice it, to honor whatever is happening with the other person, and knowing that we're having a shared experience that's often very different. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. That's life. Greg is saying, my whole life was stuck in repeating patterns of low vibration. Well, Greg, you're not alone. Now it's time to lift up. My life was miserable and I felt hopeless. Now I'm 40 and I learned that really doesn't have to be the way. Oh, love it. Greg, you're not alone. You're not alone. There's a lot of us that have been, there is this thing going on in the collective consciousness called the dark night of the soul. But many people, Greg, are experiencing repeating patterns of the dark night of the soul in different aspects of their experience. So some people might be feeling it physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. And it happens in all aspects. And so what happens if you're having a conundrum of a dark night in multiple layers? It's not easy. It's not easy, but when we learn, we grow. And I think learning needs to be done differently. It's not this kind of learning about yourself and consciousness isn't going to happen through the dogma of an educational school that is built and fundamentally built on flaws and lies and manipulation. And all of us have been let's just say, impacted by the lies. But Greg, I just want to say kudos to you for being 40 and learning. And also, I would say that you also have a choice to not go through something that's socially conditioned into people, which is called a midlife crisis. I also have a lot of male clients, and a lot of men will initially come to me because they think they're in a midlife crisis. That's socially ingrained, and that becomes cellularly resonant because that is a seed that gets planted for a pattern to be experienced. I want you to know, Greg, and everybody who's listening, you do not need to adhere to that. I have friends that are going through what they call menopause. That is also seeded in humanity for women. You don't have to experience menopause the way they say. And it's not what they say, it is. So your consciousness determines your experience. Your conscious choice determines a lot of your experience. And a lot of the spiritual unlearning comes from understanding the manipulation that has happened to humanity. And it's very uncomfortable. And I always recommend, and my first 15 videos of this Being in Sync series, this is the Being in Sync 366 video series. This is just part 2 of today. And we have 33 days left, y'all. 33 days left in this series. And what I would say is that part of learning is being uncomfortable. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Get comfortable with seeing things that are uncomfortable from a point of compassion, from a point of compassionate witnessing. That is the way through. And you do compassion not from your mind, but through your heart. That's a frequency of a higher resonance. And you can transcend, okay? You can transcend. Salah, happy birthday. Happy birthday. I always give a chance to people who break my loyalty, but I won't see them the same. Interesting, Zeal. Good for you. I think I used to give people 3 chances. And if they show me on chance 1 that they don't deserve a chance 2, then there's always forgiveness, but that doesn't mean you have to. I say be loyal to your heart and honor your heart, not other people. That's what I would say. Thank you, June. I appreciate. Yes, it's a beautiful photo. Ramen is saying many thanks. I understand. Beautiful. I'm so glad. June is saying, I leave judgment up to higher authority, God. Right? Who are we? Who are we? And honestly, when we're judging, that's part of our human experience to unravel the ego mind. And good for you for allowing that to not be your path. I wish more people understood that. June is saying, why is non-attachment healthy? Because you can expand easier with non-attachment. Okay, you can expand easier. That's the real aspect. You want to tap into open systems, not closed systems. So attachment would be part of being closed or constricted, whereas non-attachment is open and flowing and fluid, mentally open. So part of people that struggle the most are the ones that have a very high rigidness in their mental capacities. So yesterday, I had a conversation with somebody and they said, we were talking about values, and I invited them to look at their values and maybe look and see which ones they have embodied and which ones yet still needed to be embodied. And embodiment is holding higher frequencies as a natural part of who you are. Kindness, learning, love, gratitude. And this person is like, no, these are my values. And I said, okay, these are my values and they should always be my values. But that doesn't mean you can't expand into other values when you've embodied. So if you all haven't looked up embodiment, you don't know what embodiment is, that's something to look at. Embodiment is making an aspect as a part of who you are. Many people have embodied judgment. Many people have embodied an identity that takes them away from knowing God. Okay, June is saying, I feel attached to my family and it helps me move on from sadness and anger. I don't know you, June. You're not a client. Take what resonates and leave the rest behind. It's totally your choice. Jay is saying, hi, any tips if someone discourages or encourages you? People are entitled to their opinion, Jay. So a lot of time people are not encouraging of something that is different. I know I've been different my entire life. I've always known this. And I've never, aside from my mother, and she was I don't want to say the only one, but she was the primary supporter to encourage me to follow my heart. Nobody else in my life did that. Did my mother follow her heart? I don't know. I would say she operated a lot from a place of fear in a lot of instances, but she was also a trailblazer in so many other ways. So, if somebody is discouraging you from following your heart, I would note it and move on. Don't allow it to stick unless there's some data in there that you need to learn from. So like having a slew of people like a narcissist who really wants you to be the same as you've always been so they can continue to siphon from you. They're not going to encourage you to change and grow and evolve because then you'll see them. See them anyways is what I would say. How can you know if a person is just trying to help you or if they are too negative? I would say your internal guidance system will tell you. So negative is, your perception, right? So if somebody feels heavy, and they're negative all the time, why would you want to be around them? It doesn't lift you up. So I don't know. I think everything serves its purpose, and those negative Nellies, as I call them, they serve a purpose too. And the purpose is for you to learn. And a lot of times that purpose is for you to learn and make conscious choices about how do you want to co-create. Do you want to create with this person? Do you want to continue to engage with this person? Or do you enjoy creating with people who are more open and encouraging and supportive? That's my preference, but there's fewer of those people than there are of the other. That's just how I've experienced it. That doesn't mean that there are not positive people out there. And there doesn't mean that there are not loving people out there. Sometimes it means you going out of your comfort zone, Jay, and finding those people that resonate different. I know for me, I don't have a ton of friends. I have some really good friends. I have people that I talk to or text with regularly, and I have some that I see occasionally. Does that make them negative or positive? No, it just makes me consciously choose who I'm creating with. It's a choice. And so, Jay, I would say choose wisely. Choose what do you want to co-create more of. And yeah, Zeal is saying here, you're not in charge of other people's happiness. This is true. A person creates their own. Yes, Zeal, we agree. Zeal, we agree. You can't control other people's choices. You cannot choose. You cannot feel for them. I remember seeing this woman crying, and she was so manipulative. And she wasn't really crying because she was sad. She was crying to get her way, because females, a lot of them are taught to get their own way. We can manipulate others with our feelings. And, that I don't like that. And this was a professor, by the way. This was a professor of a program of which I was I was an adjunct faculty. I taught leadership, and this was the senior person. And she was one of the most manipulative women I have ever encountered. Yeah, and she was just a am I saying that wrong? She was a concacavi. I can't even say the word. She was just a conundrum of incongruent ways of being. Her behavior, her judgments, her ways of being. She did some things and it was so sweet and so nice, but it was always hooked into feeding her ego. Okay, June, I'm glad that was helpful. Thank you for thanking me. I appreciate knowing that whatever I'm saying here is supportive. That's my intention, is just to help people align more within. That's my intention. That's what this whole series is practices to help others align. Greg is saying, my whole life was one big midlife crisis. I'm laughing because you're not alone, okay? And I have never heard that, Greg, and I know that there's pain within my laughter, because I've been there. I've felt the pain. I did not see my life as a midlife crisis, but if I did, that would be brutal. That would be brutal. And you know what? I think that people that hold high quantities of light often feel the heaviness more than people who have disconnected. So Greg, I would say that your pain is also part of the spiritual passage, rite of passage to evolve. And now you are saying exactly what you get to go into, which is, I want to love and be grateful. I want to take responsibility and I want to live. And I'm here for it, Greg. Live your best life and be the strongest version of yourself that you can be, and knowing that the acceptance that you want is always going to come from within. It would be nice if other people could accept us, but they don't always do that. And I just want to take a moment to say again, great appreciation for Sailor's Life doing the mods here today. He has stepped up when Peter dropped off as the mod because he had an injury. Sailor's Life has said, I'll help you, Kiana. And I just want to say thank you, because none of us do what we do alone. We take risks, we go out. This is information that doesn't resonate with everybody. I get it, I honor that. Take what works and leave the rest behind. But I want to support and encourage those who are doing acts of kindness and appreciation in small and big ways, and that is always rewarded. And Sailor's Life is doing that to help us all here. It's not just for me, although I am very appreciative, because the bots are the bots, you know? How do you match what you want to attract a frequency? I would say this is really, how I do it is different than how other people might do it, but I would say you want to become aware of where you're disconnected, meaning where your experience, what you want, what you're experiencing and what you want, there is a disconnect, okay? So you want to recalibrate. So understand, where are you miscalibrated? And that's how I look at it. I'm very analytical. I'm an analytical person, and the way I heal is different than how any other healer does it, I have seen, and that's because we all have different skills, but I look for gaps, and then I look to raise the frequency from my conscious awareness. So that's how I do it. So how do you match what you want to attract? The first is going to be starting with understanding what it is you want, having clarity of what it is that you want to feel, feeling that from within your heart, and then you start to signal it. Now, where the signaling gets confusing is when people have inner conflict. So you want to resolve all inner conflict, then you want to completely vibrate that thing that it is that you're wanting to match. And often that comes from understanding the difference between experience and desire. And you want them to be congruent. Does that make sense? So if you want to be happy, but all your whole life you're looking at how you're unhappy, that's not going to help you. What you want to do is start to resonate with the forces of strength, which are gratitude, love, appreciation, and you want to amplify those. So think about what it is that you're wanting to create. Feel it with love in your heart. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, you all. It looks like I've gotten through. Most people act emotional because they want attention. Zeal, I don't think people who are emotional are doing it just for attention. A lot of people don't have what's called emotional intelligence. They haven't developed that skill, and it is a skill. All right, everybody's saying thank you, Sailor's Life. I'm saying thank you too. Yeah, thank you, Sailor's Life. Grace, quick follow-up question. Okay, this will be the last question, then I'm going to come on in about another hour. I'm going to get off of this one. Okay, quick follow-up question. If there's If there's any time. Okay, your tip to realign to your true feelings to allow someone's negative opinions influence you. Okay, tips to realign your true feeling. Okay, so let me just do this. I'm going to take that, Jay, I'm going to take that question of tips to realign, and I'm going to bring that into the next video. That'll be part 3 on the forces of vibration. And I'm going to come back with some specific ones. So let me think. I'm going to come back, Jay, in an hour or so to give you 5 tips on how to realign your true feelings, to not allow somebody's negative opinions to, I'm just going to take a picture of this, to influence you. Okay, so that's an excellent question. Okay, so I'll see you all in an hour. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Sailor's Life. If you come back, I'll appreciate it. If you don't, you have to get on, I understand. I'll see you all in another hour here for the 3rd part of this series of the forces of vibration. We love all people. We're all here to reflect one another. This is about the natural laws of one. That's what I work off of. How do we align to the natural laws of one? All right, y'all. See you later. Bye. Thanks for being here.